What's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 3 of the Midnight Express. My name is Isaiah, joining you live from the Garage Studios here in Fremont, California. I got my guys back here tonight. John Alcorn joins us live. And also we got Martin Garcia joining us as well for the first time here on the Midnight Express history. John, first of all, man, welcome back aboard the Midnight Express. I'm so excited that you can be a guest conductor alongside me for the second night in a row. How are you doing on this Saturday night, man?
I don't know what to feel. You still have Tom Herman. Our Denver Broncos suck. No quarterbacks are playing. And I believe that's the first time in NFL history. I don't know why or how. I had them winning. But now a freaking gadget quarterback is going to win the game. Fire Tom Herman.
Yeah, man. Very, very sad state of affairs for John's teams right now. But hey, John, you and I are kind of in the same boat. Me with, Michigan.
I keep the same energy, though.
Yeah. We got to keep the same energy. Exactly. That's why we're doing the program. But, 49ers, Michigan, Texas, and the Denver Broncos, we're all lumped in the same boat. But we're also joined here, as I mentioned earlier, by Martin Garcia, who joins us for the first time here on the Midnight Express program. Martin, welcome aboard the Midnight Express, brother. Thank you for joining us tonight. How are you doing on this Saturday night?
Hey, man. I'm doing good, I would say. I mean, my teams are doing all right. My Raiders, they're 6-4 now. So we're playing some sorry teams this upcoming week. So unlike you two, I have something to look forward to.
Wow.
So yeah, there's that, man. The Niners, they got no stadium now. They got no practice field. The Broncos, they got no quarterback. So it's just nice to see two of my rivals be down. But yeah.
Don't worry, me and John are looking forward to the NFL draft and getting a high draft pick and draft ourselves a brand new quarterback that would lead us to the promised land in the coming years for our franchise. That's the biggest thing we're looking forward to right now. But ladies and gentlemen, like I said earlier, welcome aboard the Midnight Express. Feel free to fire away in our comments section. We will read your comments and answer your questions live here on the air. We already got a lot of comments coming in. We have Shardo Gupta saying, "Hi, Isaiah. What's up, Shardo? Thanks for joining us again." Shardo also says or asked me, "How are you doing tonight?" I'm doing very well, Shardo. Thanks for asking. James Gonzalez says, "Hi, everyone." James, thank you for hopping aboard the Midnight Express once again. Christy Wilson says, "I'm shocked that a wide receiver from the practice squad is the starting quarterback for tomorrow's game for the Denver Broncos." We will get into that a little bit more later. Christy also says her team, the Dallas Cowboys, are in a sad state of affairs. Yeah, we're all lumped in the same boat right
They always
now.
have been.
Also, James Gonzalez says, "Looks like John's hashtag worked last night as Matt Patricia was fired." Yes. And then we also have, we also have James Gonzalez giving Martin's Raiders some love as well. Go Raiders from James Gonzalez. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to start tonight's program with some breaking news that occurred today in the sports world. So, like we mentioned earlier, Matt Patricia, the head coach of the Detroit Lions, and their general manager, Bob Quinn, have been relieved of their duties. This was a move that I don't think anybody was shocked about. I think that everybody saw that this was going to come either now or at the end of the season. Matt Patricia, since he's taken over as the Detroit Lions head coach has been awful with the Detroit Lions. His record is 13-29-1 as the Detroit Lions head coach. That is way worse than what the Detroit Lions were under their former head coach Jim Caldwell. So you can go ahead and question that that firing of Caldwell and then going to Patricia. But John, let me start with you on this, bud. Matt Patricia, we said it last night that Matt Patricia needed to go. And less than 24 hours later, Matt Patricia finally gets the boot in Detroit. What is your reaction to the Detroit Lions canning their head coach, Matt Patricia, and their general manager, Bob Quinn?
He should have never been hired in first place. Folks, doesn't matter if it's my team or not. I don't put up with mediocrity. I don't put up with bullcrap or bullhog. I'll call it any head coach or GM. The sad thing about this with the Detroit Lions, nothing is going to change. No matter who they hire as head coach. It's the exact same owner. It's going to be the same thing over and over and over. They're not going to address the offensive line. The staff that they have for the defensive coordinators and defensive back coach, all those guys are still not going to be able to develop defensive players. You're still going to have Matthew Stafford put up some good numbers and be injured. But Matt Patricia, good riddance. You're a joke of head coach. You couldn't even coach anything, a rock or a piece, anything. Couldn't even coach this. He should have never been the head coach of the Detroit Lions. Who in what world is an ex-Patriots head coach work outside of New England? It's literally called the Patriot Way for a reason. I'm glad they fired their GM, but they still had the same owner that they've had for however long of a time. I'm not saying that Matthew Stafford's going to be gone. Matthew Stafford's going to be there for a while. Good riddance to Matt Patricia. Should have never been the coach. When you drafted 3 to 4 tight ends last year in the 2019 NFL draft with no offensive line, no running back, not a solid defense because guys can't develop the defensive players, which Darius Slay and, of course, Quandre Diggs had a problem with how Matt Patricia handled the locker room and on and off the field. Good riddance to him. Matt Patricia, this is you and the GM. Y'all are a joke. Goodbye. Nobody's going to miss you. And if any NFL team hires Matt Patricia, you deserve to lose for the next 10 to 15 years. And no matter who they hire or what happens, there's never going to be an official rebuild for the Lions. It's going to be the same thing over and over again, and they're not going to change.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, John. About Matt Patricia, before Martin goes, my thoughts on this is, like I said last night, Matt Patricia needed to go. Matt Patricia was a joke of a coach. He fought with players. He acted like a dictator. It was his way or the highway on the Detroit Lions. And he was just, his defense, he was hired because he was a supposed defensive genius. And what ends up happening, Matt Patricia in 3 years, the Detroit Lions defense, his first year, they were ranked number 27. The second year, they were ranked number 30. The third year, this year, they're ranked 24th in the entire NFL. How are you a defensive genius when outside of New England, your defense has been absolute crap under your leadership? And also, James Gonzalez, I completely agree with you. Matt Patricia, he was terrible, with his players. He was also bad with the media. He told his reporters one time to sit up in his seat and to respect the process. Like, who are you to tell someone to sit up in your seat and to respect the process? You're not that guy's boss. I mean, that's pathetic. And Christy Wilson, completely agree with you as well. Matt Patricia is a jerk. Matt Patricia just acted like he was the king of the world and that he could do no wrong, and that that he was going to be the guy to save the Detroit Lions, and he was just all in his head. And I am so thankful that he is gone. Bob Quinn needed to go as well, because let's face it, when he fires Jim Caldwell after they had an 11-game winning season, and like, and the year, like when he fired him, I think they were 9-7 or 7-9. They were decent, but he fired him because he couldn't get them over the top. So he brings in Matt Patricia, a guy that has no experience whatsoever as a head coach, to try to get them over the top. And he basically wanted Matt Patricia because him and Matt Patricia worked together when Bob Quinn was an assistant GM and Matt Patricia was the defensive coordinator. They're very, very close friends. And they were very close friends, and that's why he got the job. Like, I don't want to hear any of that BS that he was hired because, he has a great defensive mind and he can help, take the team over the top. That is completely not true whatsoever. You hired him because you were his friend, and this is exactly why you should never hire your friends for jobs that they don't qualify for. And that's one of the big lessons that we're learning here. Martin, I want to turn it over to you now. What's your thoughts on the Detroit Lions cleaning house and firing their head coach Matt Patricia and their GM Bob Quinn?
I think my only take is never hire any Bill Belichick guy as a head coach ever, man. We've always seen this. I mean, the only guy that is successful so far, and this is very short term, is what's his name, Brian Flores from the Dolphins.
Mhm.
That's the only guy that looks like will be a good coach. Other than that, I mean, we've seen it with Matt Patricia. We've seen it with the offensive coordinator. I forgot his name. The offensive coordinator. You know who I'm talking about. Do you guys remember what his name is? What is his name? Patriots offensive coordinator. Point is, we've seen it with offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators. They leave New England, they become trash, they become irrelevant. Yep, there you go, Josh McDaniels, this guy. That guy was a scrub. He still is a scrub, man. The only place he's good at is in New England with Bill Belichick, his father. And so I just think Matt Patricia being gone is a good thing for the Lions. Because, I mean, let's face it, they're not going to regardless with or without him, not anytime soon. Matt Stafford, even though he's a great quarterback, I think he's going to have to leave for the new start of the Lions. Because this Lions team is just not good. Defense is trash. Offense, trash. How are they trash, man? Come on now. They have Matthew Stafford. They have young running backs that are good running backs. And they have still decent wideouts with Galladay. So it's just like, I don't know what's wrong with the Lions, man. I think you clean house, you sweep the whole house, you get rid of the quarterback next year, trade him for assets, and let's just start new, man, because this Lions team is a joke. Matt Patricia's a joke. Maybe he'll go back to New England, but I don't see him going anywhere, really. This guy was cancer with the Lions. That's the truth.
Yeah, Martin, I completely agree with you as well. Back to your point about the Detroit Lions and why they were so trash, especially on offense, even though they had Matthew Stafford. The reason why is because Matt Patricia, he insisted on their offensive philosophy being a run-heavy team, and that would just throw the football down the field like 5 to 10 yards. That's it. He was super conservative on offense, and his defenses suck. And that's why the Lions are in the position they are right now. And I kind of liken this Lions team right now to what Bill O'Brien, left in Houston. The Detroit Lions are in shambles. Matt Patricia got rid of a lot of great defensive players that could have helped the Detroit Lions on defense. Glover Quinn, he shipped him to Seattle because Glover Quinn apparently didn't like the way that Matt Patricia was coaching him. Darius Slay, you guys heard of what his issues were with Matt Patricia. Matt Patricia and him couldn't get along. Well, Matt Patricia ships him to Philadelphia. And then he's also got rid of Ezekiel Ansah, very talented pass rusher, got rid of Eric Ebron, who's gone on to Pittsburgh and done some nice things there. So, Matt Patricia, he ruined the Lions just like Bill O'Brien did with the Houston Texans. But, John, you have one more thing to add on this Matt Patricia Lions point. John, go ahead, man.
Here's the thing. I wouldn't mind if you being a hard ass and your way of the highway if it led to winning and it led to Super Bowls. Because Belichick is a hard ass, but it led to winning. Matt Patricia, folks, if enough players, if it's just one player saying they have a problem with the head coach, The memories age the player's attitude or the player's mindset. But Matt and Patricia should never have another job in the NFL. And they need to clean house, but nothing will change with the same owner. Some people criticize or de-criticize Matthew Stafford, but I've already pointed out his numbers time and time again. Any NFL team out there, you hire him, y'all are dumb. Because he has no leadership skills. You could have the greatest X's and O's, but if you don't have the leadership, or at least somewhat of a relationship with all the players, you've lost everything. I don't know how he lasted so long, or however long he did in New England with that type of attitude. But now that he felt he had some power, then now he's going to act like that. But no, he should not get another job in the NFL, and good riddance.
Yeah, I think we all agree on Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn's firing by the Detroit Lions today. Just the Lions, they just had to get rid of them. You know, those two guys were absolute cancers to the organization, and they ruined the organization big time. And now this is where the hard road begins. You know, the Lions have to rebuild that defense because that defense has sucked for the past 4 years. And until they rebuild that defense, no matter how good their offense is with Golladay and Matthew Stafford and, you know, Kerryon Johnson, Adrian Peterson, and those running backs that they've got, they're not going to go anywhere if they don't have a good defense, because you're not going to beat teams like Green Bay and Chicago and Minnesota who have pretty good quarterbacks and Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins with a defense that is ranked number 24 to number 27 in the entire NFL. Let's go to our comment box real quick, guys. We have some comments coming in. James Gonzalez says the Lions are going to play free and easy now with the dictator gone. I totally agree with you, James. Casey King writes in, most of Belichick's assistants have failed as head coach. Totally agree. James Gonzalez says, take that pencil and shove it into your ear, Matt. 1,000% agree with you. That's a thing. That is in the early lead, by the way, for the comment of the night. Callum McClure comments via the MI6 Sports Network page. A few teams like the Lions, Bears, Raiders, the Renters in Los Angeles, and the Cowboys quit hiring family members for front office positions. Since they are owned by families, they will be stuck in mediocrity forever. 100% agree with you, Callum.
The Raiders are back, man. Forget you.
Yeah, I mean, I like the John Gruden hire. That was a great hire by Mark Davis and the Raiders organization. Casey King also says this worse when they hired Matt Millen as GM. What do you guys think? Is right now how the Lions are they worse than what happened a couple of years or back then when they hired Matt Millen as GM? John?
It wouldn't make a difference either way because, folks, it's Detroit. It's the same owner. Nothing is going to change. This goes all the way back to Barry Sanders. He retired because y'all sucked. Calvin Johnson retired and arguably was one of the greatest receivers of all time. Tired injuries because y'all sucked. So we could have the greatest GM. You could have Bill Belichick as GM. But when you have the same owner that you have right now, nothing will never change. Nothing is going to change with Detroit ever.
Fun fact, man. You know there's only been one winning coach in Detroit since 1972? There's only been one coach with a winning record in Detroit since 1972. And guess who that was?
Caldwell.
That was Jim Caldwell.
That tells you right there, Martin, that nothing is going to change.
His record was 36-28. And what do? They fire him for Matt Patricia. So I think the Lions culture is just lose, 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 man. You're not gonna win until you change the culture of losing, man. Because I mean, you have a coach that was winning, and you fire him for a guy that took you guys back at least a few years. So the Detroit Lions need to change the culture, a change of scenery. That's what they need.
But the problem is, and you're right, but it's not gonna happen, even though it needs to, because you have the same owner. I wish there was a way to fire an owner. I don't know his name, but he is an absolute joke. How do you have a quarterback like Matthew Stafford, who was Mahomes before Mahomes to a certain extent, and not at least appear in a Super Bowl? I mean, it's the same owner. Nothing is going to change. We want this to change, but it's not going to. Even with Minnesota, all the drama they've had over the years with the quarterbacks and Adrian Peterson leaving, all that, they still have had more success despite that having more quarterbacks since Detroit when they got Matthew Stafford. Detroit went 0-16 many years ago. Was that the same owner then?
Yep.
The same owner 13 years later with Matthew Stafford, who has put up phenomenal numbers, was MVP candidate in 2019, broken back, ribs, all this. It's not going to change. And it's just not. There's nothing you can do unless you can fire the owner.
100% agree with you, John. Callan also chimes in. He says they would have beaten Chicago if DeAndre Swift didn't drop that wide open touchdown pass in week 1. Yeah, Callan, I mean, they would have beaten Chicago, but I don't
You
really.
should be happy, Callan.
Yeah, you should be happy, Callan, but I don't think that would have really changed their season in any way. I thought that the Detroit Lions, from the start, before the season started, I thought the Detroit Lions were going to be headed for the bottom of the NFC North, and that they were going to just suck this entire season. They started really bad, but then they won, I think, 3 straight, and then after that, they just lost. They got shut out by the Carolina Panthers, and then now they dropped that embarrassing game on Thanksgiving Day to the Houston Texans. Also, James Gonzalez chimes in. No, the Matt Millen days were way worse. James Gonzalez also says that Sheila Ford Hamp is the owner. She's got to sell the team regardless of Ford and its roots in the city of Detroit. I totally agree with you. And Christy Wilson says that the Lions are owned by a woman named Sheila Ford Hamp. I believe she's the daughter of Martha Ford, who used to own the team for a long time. I might be wrong on that. But John, Martin, let's switch gears and move on from one bad program in the state of Michigan to the other bad program in the state of Michigan. Let's travel 44 miles west from Detroit to our second destination here, and that would be the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, Michigan. That is the University of Michigan Wolverines. Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines, they lose again, this time to Penn State on their home field, 27-17. You know, John, Martin, to be honest, I'm already numb at this point from all the crippling losses that I've had to endure watching Michigan football this entire year. I'm already used to it. You know, every single Saturday, it's the same damn thing over and over, unless you're playing Rutgers, of course. Michigan badly needs a change at head coach. This team, they just look like they're out there because they have to be out there, that they're just going through the motions. They know that their fate has been decided and that they aren't going to go to any bowl games this season. You could clearly see it on the sidelines. They aren't going to beat Ohio State. They're not going to go to any bowl games. They've mailed it in. There's no joy. There's no energy like you would typically see from a team after they made a great play. It's just like, yeah, we made a great play. So what? Great. On to the next one. That's the attitude right now at Michigan. It's just very, very disappointing to watch each and every week. They have a huge issue at quarterback. All of the quarterbacks right now on the Michigan roster look absolutely atrocious. I think that me, John, Martin, Callan, Steven, and this entire network could play better quarterback than those current scrubs that they have on the roster. Their offensive line is banged up. Their wide receivers can't get any separation. And then you look at their defense. Their defensive line can barely get any pressure whatsoever. They can't stop the run. They're making every running back look like they're the second coming of Barry Sanders or Emmitt Smith. They're making every quarterback look like he's the 2019 version of Joe Burrow. I mean, it's just pathetic, man. And, their secondary, they're very, very young. They're making really bad mistakes week in and week out that are costing the team big time. At this point, it's over, man. It's over for this Michigan team. And I think that I completely agree with what Urban Meyer said today on Fox Noon Kickoff, which is Michigan needs to blow it up. They have to blow it up because if you retain Jim Harbaugh for another year, not only am I going to lose my mind, and not only am I going to drive all the way from California to Michigan, but the Wolverine program, if you bring back Jim Harbaugh, you're basically saying, we don't care about winning football games. We don't care about our football program. We're okay with mediocrity. So you cannot bring back Jim Harbaugh, Warren Manuel. You have to make a change there. If you don't make a change, then your program's not going to go anywhere for the next 2 to 3 years. So that's my take on this Michigan-Penn State game. See, Cal and John, I faced up to the music, and I talked about this pathetic Michigan-Penn State performance. John, I'm going to go to you, bud. What's your take on the sad state of affairs currently in Ann Arbor, Michigan?
Why after year 2 was Harbaugh still the coach? It's been 4 years. Do I need to create another? And that's not because of me that what's his name got fired. But do we need to create another hashtag, fire Harbaugh? You've had 4 years. Before the season started, Isaiah, there's a video. I know you owned up to it now. That's good. But talking about it, the fact of the matter is, if you can't even beat Penn State, much less Ohio State, even after year 2, you couldn't beat a key divisional team, you should have been gone. What are they waiting for? Folks, this is why when you do signings or you decide not to fire a player, don't do it off of emotions. Because as a personality, he's a great dude. But as a coach, he sucks ass. I'm sorry. He's terrible. As a NCAA head coach, Harbaugh, I don't blame him. If I were him, I would stay. I mean, you get money. But for the organization, it's basically just like with the UT Longhorns. That's basically giving them, no, I'm not going to do it, but the middle finger. Basically saying, you don't care about the fans. Even after, was it that year that happened to Michigan State? What year was that?
I think that was Harbaugh's first year in Ann Arbor. I think that was 2015. I might be wrong on that, though.
So right around the time he got there, they've already saw disaster. But this is the opposite of Nick Saban. Nick Saban couldn't make it in the NFL, went to NCAA. Harbaugh was a great coach in the NFL and sucks in the NCAA. What characteristics and what, unless he begged, even then, why would he still be there? You can't beat Ohio State after 2 years. What makes you think in year 3 or year 4 that it is going to change? It's just like an abusive or that relationship with that attractive woman. Oh, you think, it's going to work out. Let's give it time. No, Harbaugh, this is you and all the other coaches who should be fired. You shouldn't be there. You're a joke of a head coach. I hold everybody accountable, especially when it comes to a head coaching position. All the money they threw at you, you should be arrested for robbery. You robbed 4 years from Michigan fans, the whole organization, fans who also had Tom Brady back in the day. You've had all these other individual players over the years. Shame on you. And you let Ohio State. And it's funny because they know they can't beat Ohio State. So either he's going to pull a you-know-what move, cancel the game because of COVID reasons, or, well, actually, that would be the only reason because you can't beat Ohio State. Like, even after Urban Meyer left and they got a new head coach, they still beat you. How do you not – wasn't Penn State 1-4, 1-5 on the year before this game?
They were 0-5.
They were winless, bro.
Okay, so
Winless.
that makes it even worse because I didn't pay attention to them. There's no heart, there's no passion, there's no injury, no nothing. One of the many things that we love about college football is the energy, the factor, all that on the field. We don't see that. When you see the quarterback play, inconsistent, the running attack, the defense, all of that is like the biggest pile of poo in a diaper. That is the Michigan organization right now, the past 4 years. It needs to go into the dump. He needs to be fired as of right now. You lose against a team that hasn't won a game, much less you only had 2 more wins than them on the year. So it's not like you were producing. Some point, it's not about looking on paper. It's about what have you done for me. I don't care if it's difficult or not. This is why a lot of organizations in the NCAA suck, because you continuously make decisions that harm you. Michigan, if you don't fire, I mean, I don't care. I mean, I hope you keep him for the next 10 to 15 years to see what Isaiah says. But if they don't fire him, I don't know what they're doing. It shows they don't care about the fans. We know most organizations don't care about the fans. But if you don't fire him after the season, the fans are going to make it known to y'all, screw you, Michigan, for not caring about it. Fire Jim Harbaugh. Right now, no, I said right now, we'll do it. You need to get fired, bro. You're a joke of a head coach. Get out of here.
Boom. John putting down the axe on Jim his tenure at Michigan. I completely agree with you, John. I've been saying this for several months. Jim Harbaugh needs to be arrested immediately. The guy is a crook. He is stealing $7-8 million a year from the University of Michigan. I mean, how do you deserve that much money when, first of all, you can't beat Ohio State? You can't develop a quarterback when you're supposedly a quarterback whisperer. You can't do any of that. Your team is, I think, what, 1-7 against Penn State, 2-8 against Michigan State, your main rival, besides Ohio State. How do you deserve $7-8 million when you can't do anything right at the University of Michigan? It just boggles my mind. I don't know how he got that salary, but I completely agree with John. He needs to be fired immediately. And if Michigan doesn't fire Jim Harbaugh, Khaled, John, Martin, whoever's in this stream, y'all can book it right now that I will be gone from MI6 programming for the next 2 weeks, as I will be driving up from California to Ann Arbor, Michigan.
No.
There will be a protest in front of the big house in Michigan. But Martin, let me go to you, bro. Michigan loses to Penn State 27-17. They look very hapless in this game. What's your thoughts about the sad state of affairs currently in Ann Arbor?
Dude, let me simplify what John just said, because what he said is right. Let me simplify it for you guys. In other words, fire Jim Harbaugh. Simple as that. I mean, is this really the Ohio State that you said was gonna scare? I mean, not Ohio State. My bad. This is really Michigan that's gonna scare Ohio State.
This is Jim Harbaugh's best team at Michigan. He finally has his quarterback. I know Callan keeps saying death, taxes, and Michigan losing Ohio State. Well, that curse is going to end this year. Michigan is beating Ohio State. They have a great offensive line. They have a great running game. The receivers finally have knowledge of that system. And Joe Milton, my oh my, was I impressed with this dude. This dude has a cannon of an arm. This guy runs like Lamar Jackson. I mean, he's like Lamar Jackson, but with a cannon of an arm. Like, this guy is going to be great. Ohio State needs to be trembling right now because the Wolverines are on their way to the Big Ten championship.
How about that quarterback?
Yeah, so is this really the Michigan that's going to be Ohio State, man? Or
Michigan couldn't even
Are you
beat
just
Hawaii State in the toilet bowl, much less Ohio
bro?
State.
They couldn't even beat Penn State, man. Like I don't know what Isaiah saw in Jim Harbaugh. I don't even know what he saw in his quarterback supposedly, and his offensive line.
After year 2, I was like, no, this is done. But people don't think about that. They just when you wait to the last minute to fire somebody because you're afraid to, you're hurting your organization beyond links. And Isaiah, I hope you saw that video right there. I know you took accountability for it now, but saying you talk about that quarterback, less than 600 passing yards, 3 to 4 TDs, no picks, but numbers are up and down, up and down. What version of Lamar Jackson at 2 years old, 3 years old, when he's a toddler? What version of Lamar Jackson is that, Mr. Isaiah?
Yeah, that was.
To explain.
That was a take that didn't really age well.
It aged within the first week. Oh, phew.
Oh
Like
no!
many of your takes. Like many of your takes, Isaiah.
After that, I spewed that take out there.
One game a season does not make.
After I spewed that take out there, Michigan proceeded to lose their next 4 games and then had to have overtime to barely escape by Rutgers. But
here's you, here's Matt, there's you, there.
enough with Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. I'm totally done with that.
No, let's keep going. Let's keep going. We're talking about Harbaugh. Ways to fire Harbaugh. No.
Yeah, exactly. Harbaugh needs to be fired, and Chardot says that.
Come on,
Michigan,
Isaiah. You know you want Matt Nagy up there in Ann Arbor.
I'm just hoping that Michigan. They make a lot of dumb decisions. I hope that they don't hire.
You know you want Jim Mora Jr.
What about Adam Gase in Michigan? I'm just kidding.
Oh, you know you want Adam Gase up there too, but
I pray that Michigan does not hire the newly available Matt Patricia. You hire Matt Patricia, we have problems.
No, get Matt Patricia and have your offensive defensive coordinator be Bill O'Brien.
There you go.
Dear God. But
do it, Michigan.
Let's
go
on to our next topic, and let's travel down to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, to talk about the Iron Bowl. That was Alabama and Auburn today. Nick Saban out for that game because he tested positive for COVID-19.
Not like it really matters.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it didn't matter, like Callan said, as Alabama steamrolled Auburn 42-13 in the Iron Bowl. John, I'll start with you on this, bud. What's your takeaways from Alabama's butt whooping of Auburn today?
It's Auburn. This is
John,
Alabama.
Before you go, I got to address this. No, and no way in hell.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
No way. Clay Helton.
Yes. Do it right now, y'all. It's official on Twitter. Let's go. Clay Helton to Michigan. Let's do it.
Clay Helton has tortured me enough at USC. I cannot have him torturing me at Michigan.
Isaiah loses again. Isaiah loses again. 10 games of losing. Isaiah loses again. Skull, 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 skull. Skull, 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 skull. Still keep on losing. Isaiah loses again. Isaiah loses again. Isaiah loses again. 10 games of losing. Isaiah loses again. He's worse than Stephen Wayne. He's worse than Stephen Wayne. Still keep on losing. Skull, 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 skull.
I've never seen that before.
Absolutely not to Clay Helton at Michigan. But, John, back to your point, Alabama, Auburn, what do you make of this game?
So it's Alabama. No matter how much I do hate them because they beat my Texas in the championship game 11 and a half years ago. It's Alabama. We know what they are about. You don't really imagine if Nick Saban was coaching this game. how much worse the beatdown would actually be. 40-plus points without your head coach. That just shows how great of an organization Nick Saban has settled in the past 11 to 12 and a half years. Auburn wasn't going to beat Alabama. And what I want to find one fan, one college football fan that thought, that makes a lot of sense. You thought they were going to beat Alabama. It doesn't matter Nick Saban or not. That does not discredit Nick Saban, but this is how great of an organization they have. It's Auburn. This is not Cam Newton in 2010 or what the year he was in contention. This is not Cam Newton 10 plus years ago. Isaiah. Auburn and Alabama. And let's say both teams were in their prime with the best players they've ever had in school history. Alabama's winning it. Even let's put A.J. McCarron in. They're winning that game today. This is how Alabama is, and we know Auburn should just switch back to another season because they are crap. There's absolutely no chance they had. Alabama played great. They have a great organization. This is what a well-run organization looks like in the NCAA. You don't fold. You don't fold under pressure. You don't freak out. You don't have your head coach, and you still make Auburn look like a kiddie flag football team.
Exactly, man. With or without Nick Saban, it doesn't matter. Alabama is still a powerhouse. So, they completely demolished Auburn. It was an absolute
just like they
snooze
did in
fest.
Georgia earlier this year too.
Please never remind me about that game, Callan. I'm still extremely ticked off.
What game was that, Isaiah?
Martin, what's your take on Alabama's 42-13 beatdown of the Auburn Tigers in the Iron Bowl? Well, it looks like Martin is having some technical difficulties right now. We'll get back to him in a bit. But my thoughts on this game is exactly what I posted on my Facebook timeline. I said that this was an absolute snooze fest. I had this game on. I watched the entire first half, turned it off 5 minutes into the third quarter because I knew Alabama had this game. It was a blowout. Alabama is just a powerhouse. They're one of the best teams in all of college football. One of the best defenses in all of college football. Mac Jones looks like an absolute stud. Today he had 18 of 26, 302 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Najee Harris, 11 carries, 96 yards, 1 touchdown. But the Alabama receivers are just freaking amazing, man. I mean, they have Devontae Smith, 7 catches, 171 yards, 2 touchdowns. John Mechie, the freshman, 6 catches, 55 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Jaleel Billingsley, a guy that Alabama sparingly uses. They never use him. He had 2 catches for 33 yards and a touchdown. And the defense, they got 2 interceptions of Bo Nix. This was just a total beatdown all across the board from Alabama. And, if you're Auburn, man, Gus Malzahn, the Auburn head coach, he might be in big trouble down there in Auburn because those fans, they're very, very restless. And to see their team lose to Alabama like this and not even put up a fight, it's embarrassing. And, they've been wanting Gus Malzahn gone for the last 2-3 years. And he just somehow, some way, every year manages to survive the hot seat. But who knows? Maybe this year will be different. We got some comments coming in. Christy Wilson says, "Row Tide, row." Callan also comments from the MI6 Sports Network page, Sweet Home Alabama, where the skies are so blue. Sweet Home Alabama, Lord, I'm coming home to you. Callan, we know you love that song. We know you love that Crimson Tide, but hey,
No, I just like trolling you for your terrible picks.
enjoy this game because the Florida Gators, those Gators, I'm not a Gators fan, but those Gators are going to keep the Tide alive in the SEC championship game in a couple of weeks.
Nope.
Shardo Gupta says, Bama looking like the best team right now in college football. They certainly are. Casey King also says, Harbaugh ends up back in the NFL. I can see him in Chicago. I think my guy Callum McClurg would definitely love that a lot.
Trubisky, let's go.
Also, Casey says, Nama.
Put that jerky away.
Nama looking like the best team. By the way, John, I want to congratulate you, man. Thank you so much for extending the food streak here on the MI6 Sports Network. We had pumpkin bread, and we had Callan's peanuts, and now we have beef jerky. So the food streak continues. But speaking of food, let's move on to our next game, and let's go to the Egg Bowl in the Battle of Mississippi. Yes, the Egg Bowl between Mississippi State and Mike Leach and Ole Miss and their head coach, Lane Kiffin. Ole Miss beats Mississippi State 31-24 in a very, very entertaining game. John, I'm going to start with you on this, bud. What's your thoughts on this game between Ole Miss and Mississippi State?
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I didn't watch it, but I mean, it was an interesting game. But I mean, overall, I can't really be surprised by the results. But again, sometimes I think that's one of the things in college football is that really anything can happen. But it was definitely a game.
Yeah, man, my thought coming into this game was that it was going to be all offense and no defense because Mississippi State and Ole Miss are one of the worst defensive teams in all of college football. They give up over 40 points a game. Both of those schools does. But, hey, this actually lived up to the billing. You know, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I said that it was going to come down to whoever could get a stop in this game. And that team that got a stop was Ole Miss. Ole Miss got 2 stops in the beginning of that game that really helped them towards the victory. But if you're Mississippi State, you know, it's really like upsetting that you lost this game. You know, you lost to one of your biggest rivals. But I don't really think you should be that upset. I think you finally found your quarterback of the future and a guy that can really work well in Mike Leach's offensive scheme in Will Rogers. I mean, this guy was 45 of 61, threw for 440 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, so showed a lot of poise and confidence down the stretch. I'm really impressed by this kid. I can't wait to see him ball out in the future years for Mississippi State and for Mike Leach. Let's move on to our next game, Northwestern against Michigan State. Northwestern was ranked number 8 in all of college football, and they go down to the Michigan State Spartans, who have absolutely looked dreadful the last couple of weeks. John, Northwestern, they are the team that, for me, they are the team that always, when you give them some good stuff, like I've told Callan about Iowa State, when you give them some good stuff, they will always manage to throw it away. They are a team that, like Stephen A. Smith says, they are the walking or they are an accident waiting to happen. I mean, they were ranked 8th. They had a chance with Ohio State suspending their game. And, you know, if they had suspended one more game, either against Michigan State or Michigan, Ohio State would have been ineligible for the Big Ten championship, and that would have been a perfect spot for Northwestern, a team that had clinched that had just beaten Wisconsin to clinch a spot in the Big Ten, or to leapfrog Wisconsin and to get an edge in trying to clinch a spot in the Big Ten championship. They fall flat on their face to Michigan State, a team that I said earlier has absolutely looked really dreadful. And, it's just really sickening. Northwestern, they are a very good defensive team, but offensively, they look really bad. If their defense can't come through, they're going to lose that game. And, I'm sorry, Calvin, I have to use your bear or pull your Bears into this conversation, but they look like the Bears. They look like a team that is very good on defense.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
But when the running game doesn't work and the intermediate passing game doesn't work, they're screwed. They got nowhere to turn to, and they disappoint yet again. John, any thoughts on this game?
This is what happens when you give certain teams a little bit of credit when they start to look good. Just like a really good-looking fake ID. It looks very good, but once you look into it, oh my gosh, it wasn't real. Just like Northwestern. We see these with many teams when they finally look like they're on the uprise, and they're as fraudulent as Harbaugh is with Michigan, just like Michigan State is. Both Michigan teams shouldn't be in the NCAA. They shouldn't legally be removed from the NCAA. Northwestern had an opportunity to change it, and they couldn't. This is why certain teams will never be franchises or dynasties. Because when it truly matters, they can't get it done, and it just didn't happen for them.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. Let's move on to our fifth game. Out west here, UCLA plays Arizona. Chip Kelly and the Bruins, they get the win against the Arizona Wildcats. Damn, I nearly called them the Arizona Crimson Tide, but the Arizona
is like I see.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, but
Crimson Tide from Wildcats. Come on now.
Arizona, Alabama, two teams that have the letter
No,
A in
no,
their
no.
name.
I'm colorblind, but I can tell Arizona from Bama apart. What's your scoop?
But yeah, UCLA defeats Arizona 27-10. Chip Kelly and the Bruins improved to 2-2. Arizona drops to 0-3. My thoughts on this game is that Chip Kelly's UCLA Bruins have been a disappointment for the last 2 years. Many people have wanted to get rid of him down there in Los Angeles. But I think things are finally starting to get turned around for those UCLA Bruins. If you watched that game yesterday or today, Chip Kelly and his teams, what were the biggest indictment on his team? It was the offensive line were very, very soft. They would always get pushed around.
Chip Kelly, you want it to happen.
Heck no, Callan. But Chip Kelly, his teams would always get pushed around at the line of scrimmage. But tonight, they finally did the pushing on the offensive line. Demetric Felton had 32 carries for 206 yards and a touchdown. He was an absolute beast. Britton Brown, 16 carries, 72 yards, and a touchdown. Chase Griffin, their quarterback, he was 12 of 20 for 129 yards and a touchdown. Very efficient. The Bruins are things are finally starting to look up for the UCLA Bruins and Chip Kelly. I know they have USC coming up in a few weeks. We'll see how they do against USC. That's going to be a very tough task for Chip Kelly and the Bruins, but that would be their litmus test to see if they're actually for real or not. But on the other side, Arizona, they need to fire Kevin Sumlin. Kevin Sumlin had lots of success at Texas A&M. He was ultimately forced out because A&M wanted to hire Jimbo Fisher. They got their guy. And Kevin Sumlin, his career has just gone downhill ever since then. Like, he's 0-3 at Arizona. Are you kidding me? 0-3 at Arizona. And last year, they were absolutely dreadful. His first season, they were complete garbage. They need to make a change at head coach in his time. The Arizona, The Arizona defense looks really bad. Their offensive line is getting pushed around. The quarterback play has been garbage down there in the desert. And, for Kevin Sumlin, it's a shame that you've whipped on so many good quarterbacks in your own home state in recruiting. You could have had Keaton Slovis, who was went to high school in Arizona. You could have had Brock Purdy, who went to high school in Arizona. You could have had a lot of guys that went to high school in Arizona, but you chose Grant Gunnell, who has been absolutely dreadful. He got hurt tonight. We wish him a speedy recovery. He was replaced by Will Plummer, who was 17-35 for 151 yards and 2 interceptions. They just haven't been able to solve the quarterback problem, the quarterback room. And Kevin Sumlin just hasn't had any success with quarterbacks outside of Johnny Manziel that 1 year or 2 years at Texas A&M. So they got to get that fixed. And I really think Arizona, they need a coaching change to get back on the right track. But John, what's your take on this UCLA UOA game?
UCLA is just like what I talked about with Brian Finley. One of the many issues they have is recruiting or keeping guys after they recruit them. Brian Finley was saying that they spend $45 million a year or so for food. So it's not like this team doesn't have the money or the resources. Chip Kelly is not a good head coach for this team. They're not bad. Who did they play? Arizona. Not the Cardinals, but the college team. They're not back. What in tarnations
Hear the fork. Are
you talking about? They're as good as his bag of jerky right here. UCLA is. I know Brian Finley's a fan of them. That's fine. We all have our teams, but they're not back. They never even showed up or appeared. As long as I don't know why Chip Kelly is still there, but as long as they have Chip Kelly, they're not going to win.
Yeah, John, about Chip Kelly, I just think that, Chip Kelly, they finally have the running game going. They finally have a decent offensive line. Their defense still needs a bit of help. But for me, this game was just all about Arizona and Kevin Sumlin. Kevin Sumlin, he's probably one of the most overrated coaches in all of college football.
Oh, come on. You want him in Michigan. Don't you dare say that.
Oh, get out of here, man.
Chip
no
Kelly,
way in hell.
Adam Gase and Bill O'Brien. Man, that's a dream team right there for Isaiah.
I know you want Rick Neuheisel up there in Ann Arbor. Come on.
John, you want Kevin Sumlin at Texas, by the way?
No. We deserve to lose if that happens. And Callan, don't you dare say otherwise. No, Chip Kelly, no. They played Arizona. I don't care about the running other teams in college or the NFL. Just like with Lamar with the Dolphins last year, made him look great. Same thing with UCLA with Chip Kelly. Do they against
Isaiah, you want Brady Hoke back from San Diego State.
Yep, that's all I have to say.
No way, man. But yeah, Chip Kelly and the UCLA Bruins, their biggest test is gonna be in 2 weeks against UCLA at, I believe, at the Rose Bowl. So that's gonna be their biggest test and their litmus test. Casey King writes in, Chip Kelly is overhyped as a head coach. Also, Casey King says, not so fast. On UCLA, they played the University of Arizona, who is nothing.
Not so
Shardo Gupta says, I agree with Isaiah. The head coach, Kevin Sumlin, at the University of Arizona football team, he needs to be fired, or his era needs to come to an end, and his team is 4-7 overall. And he also writes in, fire Kevin Sumlin. John, maybe we can get that hashtag fire Sumlin started on Twitter.
I know. Bring Solomon to Michigan. Bring him to Michigan.
I am hopping off the train officially, fellas. Goodbye.
The train never even. Keep that same energy. At least I can come on when I talk about my Alpha Broncos, who we have our practice squad player as being our freaking quarterback tomorrow. Sam, who can't play quarterback. I'm sorry, he's going to be a bust in the NFL, and we don't have a coach. You're going to have to talk about it.
We'll get into the Broncos in a bit, but let's move on to our 6th college football game of the night, and this game comes to us from South Carolina, where the Georgia
How many games did you pick?
We have 7 games, Callan. 7 games on the list. It was a packed college football schedule, but the Georgia Bulldogs, I'm going to take this one because, this is I'm going to take this one first. The Georgia Bulldogs absolutely smashed South Carolina in Columbia, South Carolina today, 45-10. And John, my biggest takeaway from this Georgia-South Carolina game is that
say about that quarterback.
This was the glimpse of how scary Georgia is going to be next season. Georgia, you guys all know this. Georgia already had a vaunted defense. They had a formidable rushing attack. All Georgia was missing to take the next level was that star quarterback that can present defenses with lots of challenges in the passing game. I know that Thanksgiving has just passed, but there is one thing that I am really thankful for that I forgot to say during the Thanksgiving special and, when my family gathered around the dinner table to say what we were thankful for. The biggest thing that I am thankful for this year is that Kirby Smart finally got his head out of his ass and started JT Daniels. We've been clamoring for JT Daniels to start. We've been clamoring for JT Daniels to start since week 1. This guy, this transfer out of USC, he's got a great arm. He's got great poise. He's got great footwork. He's got great pocket presence. He's a future star at the quarterback position. The only reason why he left USC is because he got injured. He tore his ACL. Keaton Slovis takes over for him, and then USC does very well with Keaton Slovis. And then JT Daniels has nowhere to go because he doesn't want to be on the bench to Keaton Slovis. And then he transfers to.
Stop saying we like you play for the damn team, foo.
But Georgia, with JT Daniels now, with the vaunted rushing attack, with the vaunted defense, they're going to be scary next season. And if I'm Ohio State, put the camera on me right now. Put the camera on me. If I'm Ohio State, if I'm Alabama, if I'm Florida, if I'm Oklahoma, I am trembling because the dogs are coming for that national championship, that elusive national championship next season. I cannot wait because great things are going to start coming to Athens, Georgia, now with the arrival of JT Daniels.
Isaiah loses again. Isaiah loses again. 10 games of losing. Isaiah loses again. Skull, 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 skull. Skull, 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 skull. Still keep on losing. Isaiah loses again. Isaiah loses again. Isaiah loses again. 10 games of losing, Isaiah loses again. He's worse than Stephen Wayne. He's worse than Stephen Wayne. Skills keep on losing. Skull, 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 skull.
John, one thing before you go. Callan, feel free to chime in on this topic if you want. Go ahead, John.
Who did Georgia play if they're winning by that many points, Isaiah?
South Carolina.
Exactly. If you're being a team that bad, it's not because your quarterback, oh my gosh, he's the second coming of this, and oh my gosh, he's doing this. Try that against Ohio. Try that against any other teams that you listed. Seriously, Georgia, were they back with Jake Fromm? What about Todd Gurley? Sony Michelle, and all these other running backs? Were they back then? No.
For JT,
So who if they're beating a team that bad, that tells you this is not Ohio State. This is not Penn. This is none of these teams they played for today. 45-10. Clearly, Isaiah, this is the problem. This is why you're not a GM. You cannot base off of 2 games. When you base it off of 1 to 2 games, especially in the NFL, we know the result of that. But in the NCAA,
Michigan, this is Jim Harbaugh's best team at Michigan. He finally has his quarterback. I know.
folks, I apologize to all Bulldogs fans out there. Isaiah is giving you all false hope. All the biggest false hope in the world. Georgia should be arrested for identity theft, for pretending to be an NCAA team in college. They couldn't do it with Jake Fromm in the big game against Texas. They couldn't do it with all the running backs they had back then. It's 2 games. And if we already assume based off of 2 games this guy is going to be great, well then let's look at freaking whoever else. Let's just do Marcus Mariota. His first game in the NFL, lit it up. 4 TDs. He was a bust. That's not a surprise. Georgia isn't back because they've never showed up. They've never arrived. They've been stuck in traffic that is never going to stop. I don't care who you put in. It's the almost team. Not Georgia, the almost team. We almost did this. Oh, we almost did that. It's like the husband that always quits the anniversary, except for Georgia, they show up in big games. Oh, we almost. Oh, wait. No, we did. We did. Oh, wait. No, we didn't. I know my team needs to show up because they're terrible. I get that. I know that. But Georgia, you hyped them up. They're going to beat Ohio State. Really. They're going to beat the other 2 through teams that you mentioned. Really. You keep hyping them up every year. And what happens every single time, no matter who the quarterback is?
Here's you, here's Matt, there's you, there.
Jake Fromm is a backup for Josh Allen, who dropped from the 2nd round to the 6th round. Because most teams had quarterbacks, but even then, there's probably other underlying scenarios why he didn't make it. What all of a sudden, off of 2 games, are we going to see? We can look at film. That's great. But let's see. Put him against good college teams in their division, out of their division, and let's see what he can do. The problem is when you have a small sample size, you can't assume that small sample size is going to be the end result. Georgia's not back. You are giving them false hope. You need to apologize. They need to apologize. They need to be arrested.
Like Michigan.
For identity theft. They're arrested. They've been pretending to be an NCAA team for years, and we haven't gotten it done.
Well, John, first of all, I just hope that, next year if Georgia somehow, some way crashes, which I hope not, but if they do, I just hope that Callan doesn't go back into this, the archives and bring this
Callan. Do it, Callan. Do it.
Because I have a feeling this video would come back to bite me in the ass. But hey,
what about the one with LeBron?
If someone put a gun to my head and said, Isaiah, choose between keeping Luke Walton as head coach or keeping LeBron James on the Lakers, you know what I'm going to choose? I'm going to choose to keep Luke Walton as head coach over keeping LeBron James. That's right. Luke Walton is a better asset to the Lakers than LeBron James. Luke Walton is the guy I would choose over LeBron James because Luke Walton is a brilliant young coach. The reason why the Lakers have been bad under Walton is because of several reasons. Number one, the Los Angeles Lakers have really young players that are still developing and learning how to win. Number two, the Los Angeles Lakers front office, whether it's Jim Buss and Mitch Kupchak or Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka, they have been total incompetent. They haven't put Luke Walton in a position to succeed. They haven't given Luke Walton any players that fit his system. All these players that signed with the Lakers that Magic signed have been awful. JaVale McGee, Michael Beasley, Rajon Rondo. They don't fit the up-tempo ball movement, Golden State style of play that Luke Walton runs in LA. So yes, and LeBron James is old. The guy slacks off on defense. The guy that gives no effort and hustle whatsoever. I would rather take, if I had to choose between keeping Luke Walton as head coach or keeping LeBron James, I would keep Luke Walton 100% of the time.
I'm tagging LeBron James, Luke Walton, Magic, covering all those points.
Let's move on.
You gotta be careful what you say. You know it. No. You know it's gonna bite you in the butt every single time. But you're just like that one child that doesn't learn.
Isaiah loses again. Isaiah loses again. 10 games of losing. Isaiah loses again. Skull. Still keep on losing. Isaiah loses again. Isaiah loses again. Isaiah loses again. 10 games of losing. Isaiah loses again. He's worse than Stephen Wayne. He's worse than Stephen Wayne. Still keep on losing. Skull.
All right, let's
You
move
kicked
on.
me out. Really, you kicked me out for a minute. Come on, you gotta be careful what you say because you know it's gonna bite you in the butt.
Wait, first of all, I didn't kick you out. I didn't kick you out.
You did because for a minute it was just your screen.
I don't know what happened. Like, I didn't touch anything, man. But let's move on to our final game of the college football segment, and we're gonna take a ride to College Station in Texas to talk about the Texas A&M Aggies.
Why?
Walloping the LSU Tigers 20-7. John, any thoughts on this game, bud?
Guess what? I got a fever. And the only prescription is more cowbell.
Fire the LSU head coach after the year, or at least put him on the hot seat. Again, I know different situations. You lost Joe Burrow. Well, that's the disadvantage of being a college head coach. But 7 points? I know you lost most of your players, or a lot of them, to the draft. But, bro, you're a college head coach who is hyping him up. Now, I think maybe he's probably one of the more overhyped head coaches. I know there's been some rumors about other things, but 7 points, that's absolutely unacceptable. He needs to be arrested or be a police search needs to be shown out for him. Apparently, he and the LSU Tigers did not show up today.
I completely agree with what John said. You know, LSU, they haven't shown up all year long. Their offense has been absolutely dreadful. And when the offense does show up, their defense is the one that is dreadful. So, I mean, I like this team each and every week. You don't know who's going to show up. And for Texas A&M, I said in our group chat, I'm trying to find the message right now, that if Texas A&M were to beat LSU handily tonight and they win their next couple of games handily, they could jump Ohio State into the top 4 and make the college football playoffs due to the fact that, you know, Ohio State, they didn't play this week. They're probably not going to play against Michigan State because it's sounding like that their COVID outbreak is really, really bad. So, you know, I expected more from Texas A&M. I thought that they should have blown out LSU. LSU just isn't a good team this year. Like me and John have said, you know, offensively, they're inconsistent. Defensively, they suck. I mean, me and John would run we would run 100 yards plus against those LSU defenders. That's how bad they've been all season long. Ed Orgeron, I don't think he needs to be fired because he just won a championship. And when you win a championship, it gives you like 3 years 2 or 3 years at least before you get on the hot seat and ultimately get fired. But, you know, I think the pressure needs to be ramping up on him. Christy Wilson says LSU head coach House needs to be rated. Listen, everybody's so hard on Ed Orgeron right now. He just won a championship. He lost a lot of his
It doesn't
players.
matter. You're a coach. You're a coach. You got to get it done. If you can't recruit, that's on you. No excuses, bro.
They're going to be back next year. They're going to be back. Maybe not to championship form, but they're going to be back to a competent football team. It's just a championship hangover. But you know what this year is showing me, though? You know what this year is showing me? Ed Orgeron didn't win that championship.
I don't want to hear the excuses about a championship hangover. We've seen other NCAA teams win a championship, and then, of course, the guys go to the NFL, and then they're able to come back and do something even better or very close to what they did the year before. So, no, I don't want to hear the excuse about a championship hangover.
Last point on this. Joe Brady, offensive coordinator at the Carolina Panthers right now, former offensive coordinator with LSU, who helped guide that terrific offense that led all of college football in points and yards. He was the guy that was mostly responsible for winning that national title. Because if you look at the stats from before he got to LSU and when he left and when he got to LSU and then when he left LSU, they've been a totally opposite team. So Joe Brady, I believe, won them that national championship. John, let's move on to the NFL and talk about your Denver Broncos. The team today that was announced that Drew Lock, Brett Ripien, and
Wait a minute. John's Denver Broncos? I'd call them your Denver Broncos too, Isaiah. You're not off the hook with this one.
No. That's fair, bro. I don't got you.
But the Denver Broncos, they're not going to have any quarterbacks available for tomorrow's game against the New Orleans Saints due to the fact that they were all ruled ineligible to play.
When the Saints go marching in.
Due to the fact they were all ruled ineligible to play after they had come into contact with Jeff Driscoll, who tested positive for the coronavirus on Thursday. John, no quarterback, no problem, or are we talking big problem here? What's your reaction to this?
I don't think this has ever happened in NFL history where not your first, second, third stringer for a big game isn't going to be starting. Folks, we have a guy on the practice squad that is going to be our quarterback. I had the Broncos winning before if Drew Lock was healthy because at least we got the running backs, we can get it done. Because, again, it's Taysom Hill, and he's not a franchise quarterback in the NFL. I don't care what dumb reporter ESPN or Fox Sports says. It's not going to happen. But the tides have turned. But at least I can keep that same energy, not say something else like other people on this network have said. I say other people. I'm not singling anybody out.
Yeah.
He said that, not me. But my Broncos suck. We already know their season's over. Of course, not having any quarterback, which we didn't have a quarterback before. But at least we had somewhat of a game manager. Having, I don't know, some receiver from the practice squad? Royce Freeman was your emergency quarterback. When has that happened in NFL history? I have never seen it in my almost 15 years of watching football. I've done research beyond 2006, before 2006. This has never happened that I can recall in NFL history. And for the Broncos to do it, I guarantee they didn't have the answer at the quarterback before. I'm sorry, Drew Lock's not the guy. Never was.
That would have happened to the Chargers, believe it or not, more than likely.
Well, I mean, anything that harms the Chargers of winning, I'm all for that. But
yes, I approve.
The Broncos suck. And it's just there's no how this has possibly happened. Whether it's a false positive or not. And if it is, that's even a bigger story. How you have no quarterback. Like, I can't fathom that happening. But, of course, you have my awful Denver Broncos who, John Elway, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, still has not drafted.
Come on, Elway, get out there.
And I will admit that I made a mistake on this one. 2016, when Paxton Lynch got drafted, I was excited about it at first. But, of course, knowing what I know now, yes, that was an awful mistake. I can't wrap my head around it. Our season's over. I don't want – maybe this doesn't sound dumb as a Broncos fan, but I don't want them to win another game because I believe with higher draft picks, you can get better at the offensive line and maybe a little bit on the defense with potentially losing Von Miller because this is his last year in his contract. So after this year, he's a free agent. So having those picks in the draft is going to be important, especially with guys like the guys you franchise tag, Justin Simmons. We're going to do with Kareem Jackson and the next year. All that's going to come up, and all that's on John Elway, who I do not like with the Denver Broncos right now.
John, my reaction to this is simple. This is 2020 for you. You know, like every time that we always
As
think
a
that
reminder, Isaiah picked Denver to win the AFC West Division this year.
yeah,
and Drew Lock win MVP.
I also canceled the season 4 weeks ago or a month ago. So
But yeah, you still picked them to win the AFC West Division championship.
Yep, you still said it though. And as much as I would love for that to happen,
like John said, they're done. The NFL, they should be ashamed of themselves having to, put this game still on the slate, even though the Broncos have no quarterbacks whatsoever on the roster. It's ridiculous, man. It just shows that the NFL wants the money. I mean, they move the Ravens and Steelers game just because Lamar Jackson and I think two other players, they get COVID to Tuesday night. But they can't move this game to Tuesday night just so we can find out if that was a false positive or not. Like, I mean, come on, man. Like, I've been saying on this network a lot of time, the NFL plays favorites. Just look at what happened with the Niners, the Raiders. The Niners, the roster was, just stricken with guys with COVID, and they still made them play on Thursday night against the Green Bay Packers. The Raiders' whole offensive line was out, whole defense was out, and they still make them play. It's just pathetic, man. The NFL needs to get their act together. And, I know, like, I don't want to go off topic on this, but, the NFL, they really, really need to get better testing equipment. Because right now, what I've learned is that the NFL, the players,
there
they get tested.
Needs to be more clarity and more transparency, as I've said for the past several weeks.
Yes, but their players get tested before the game, right? They get tested. They come in on game day. They get tested before the game, and they don't receive the results till that night. So that means you could be playing with COVID, and then after that, you could spread it around in the locker room, or you could spread it around on the field. And then after that, if you find out you get COVID, not just your team is screwed, but the other team is screwed as well. That's like 100 players and 100 plus players and coaches that are at risk of being affected each and every game. So the NFL, they got to do better with that. That's just pathetic. I know, like the Pac-12, I believe they do 15, or they have like a system where you take the test and then 15 minutes later you get your results. So I think they should switch to that. But what the NFL does right now is just utterly ridiculous. And I think they should definitely move that Broncos game to Tuesday, or I think Denver already had their bye week.
Cancel it. We didn't have a bye week. We didn't have a bye week though this year with all that what they had. So we didn't have a bye week at all.
Yeah.
So make that a bye week or something, please. Our season already sucks. Please don't make it worse for us and having to get another quarterback. Thanks a lot, John Felpway. I mean, my God, Flopway. Sorry. But the NFL, with that much money that they have, I can't imagine how much they have. Roger Goodell, look at me in the eyes. You're a joke of a commissioner. You should have been fired after that Ray Rice situation, and you continuously make things worse and worse and worse. You're a terrible leader. I can't imagine anybody that actually wants to work with you. Lamar Jackson, like I said, he's like Aaron Rodgers sometimes. He's pampered. Oh, poor Lamar. Two guys. Okay, you get COVID. You take it seriously. But you reschedule their game despite whatever else they have on injuries. But we had to get a practice squad player, and you don't care? NFL, you are a joke, and it all goes back to Roger Goodell, who I've said for many years should be fired. I have no respect for him as any type of leader in the NFL. He should have been fired a long time ago. He's a joke.
Yeah, totally agree, man. The NFL, they just play favorites. It's just pathetic. I guarantee you, if Patrick Mahomes got COVID, the game would be moved not back 5 days or whatever. It would be moved 2 weeks. That's how pathetic it is. And some teams like the Niners and John's Broncos, they get like 4 or 5 players that test positive. Oh no, we're gonna make them play because we want the money. It's just utterly ridiculous. Roger Goodell, just get out of here. Go resign, please. You resigning would make 2020 even better. Maybe you can name me as commissioner of the NFL. I would do a better job.
Oh, hell no. That's never going to happen.
Whoa. I didn't think I would be a bad commissioner, but Isaiah, no. Roger Goodell should be fired. I'm going to start that hashtag tonight. Fire Goodell. Because he is a joke. He hasn't been able to handle anything. And he couldn't handle Peterson, all those Gregory, all these things, and continuously moving on. You keep switching your mind back and forth. I can't imagine what he's like off camera. But Roger Goodell, you're an idiot.
Yep, and we've got some comments. Christy Wilson says, Roger Goodell, a.k.a. the worst commissioner in professional sports. Are we sure that Manfred and Gary Bettman might be
it's Goodell.
Than Goodell? Well, we'll put that debate out there. Let the fans debate that. Callan writes in, Gary Bettman over Roger Goodell.
No, I can't. That's just...
Also, Christy Wilson says, I would make a better commissioner than Roger Goodell. I think anybody.
Better than Isaiah, that's for sure.
Well, first of all, Callan, if I were commissioner of the NFL, I would do a lot of really interesting things. Like, I won't spill it on air. But, we'll talk about it.
We know what you would do. You don't have to say any of it. And you would be fired faster than the Lions.
He'd be fired in the first hour on the job. Guaranteed.
Casey King writes in, Manfred is the worst commissioner in sports. Again, let us know down in the comments, who do you guys think is the worst commissioner right now in sports? Rob Manfred, Roger Goodell, or Gary Bettman? Also, Callan writes in, is a situation like this adding more fuel to the fire about having a team forfeit a game instead of rescheduling it? Let us know what you guys think down in the comments as well. But let's move on to another story that popped up today. The San Francisco 49ers are searching for a new place to play and a new training facility after Santa Clara implemented a new law that stated that beginning next week, Monday at 12 a.m. Pacific time, that anyone team sports and games are banned in the city of Santa Clara until December 21st, I believe. And also, if you test positive for the coronavirus, you have to quarantine for a minimum of 3 weeks. That's the new law implemented by Santa Clara.
Sounds like the run of the Big Ten Conference.
Yeah, pretty much. John, first of all, let me get your thoughts on this new law implemented by the city of Santa Clara. And secondly, give me some places that you would want the 49ers to play now that Levi Stadium is no longer an option.
Ooh, Oracle Park and Candlestick's not there anymore.
Basically what Callan said. And I'll add on that. I'm sorry, but that's just dumb. Because when you're allowing the people to go to shopping centers, half of them are probably not wearing masks or social distancing or doing any of that. Some have BO, some don't wipe their butt. All these scenarios with malls and stores and everything else, that is okay. Let's say, for example, 5 to 8 players tested positive for COVID, but it's at their false positive, and they didn't have it. And they could have used those players to maybe play better in these games and maybe get a higher draft pick next year. This done their best trying to with COVID. But basically what Callan said, I would agree where they should play. Guarantee their season over, they should just forfeit. But obviously that's not going to happen. But the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, that's insane. A minimum 3 weeks. Let's say they didn't have COVID? Like, what if they could have practiced? They could have. That's even risking more injuries. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation. But yeah, basically what Callan said, they run anywhere else where they could play. So at this moment.
Yeah, John, I completely agree with you. My thoughts
Too soon,
on this.
Isaiah, with James going with Candlestick and Keyser Stadium that are no longer there? Too soon?
Well, actually, Kezar is actually still there. It's actually still there, but Candlestick is not there. But I think Kezar is only a 5,000 seat stadium. So, I mean, you could go there. It would be like
not
playing on
like it matters. We're not allowed to have fans anyway in California.
Exactly. But my take on this is that this is utterly ridiculous. No sports until December 21st. And, you know, if you test positive for COVID, you have to quarantine for a minimum of 3 weeks. That's just pathetic, man. What if it's a false positive and you're just going to be stuck at home doing nothing for 3 weeks? That's just insane. The city of Santa Clara have been trying to fight
That
the
just
49ers.
means 3 weeks of The Mandalorian on Disney+. Let's get.
Yeah, that's true. But the city of Santa Clara has been trying to fight the 49ers for the past 2-3 years after they had a new mayor come in. She hasn't been friendly to the 49ers, whether it's filing lawsuits against the Niners or implementing these pathetic policies. This is just part of the
Then why
plan.
did your organization go there in the first place?
This is just another part, like another this is just part of her plan to try to derail the 49ers. She just hates the 49ers for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's because, you know, they spend a lot of the taxpayers' monies building that stadium, and, you know, she wants to get back at the Niners for that.
Now you wonder why the Chargers left.
Exactly. But if I have to, you know, throw a place that the 49ers could play. Remember, they cannot play anywhere in Santa Clara County. This law is for the entire Santa Clara County. So that means no to Stanford Stadium, no to San Jose State, no to Levi's.
Oh, go play at a soccer stadium like the Chargers did. Oh, wait. That's in San Jose.
Kevin, you ready for this?
Before they had their stadium.
No. The 49ers should
They're
play
not going to come to San Diego.
Diego. Yes. Yes.
No, the stadium has been totally demolished on the interior. They're not. The playing field's gone. They're not going to be able to play here. So,
damn it! I wanted Callan to be a diehard Nick Mullins fan. I was even going to buy him a jersey to celebrate him joining the Niners bandwagon.
No.
Bear down, baby.
But in all seriousness, though, I think that the Oakland Coliseum is a very I think you have to I think that's your best option, because at the end of the day, it's very close to Levi Stadium. It's like only a 30-minute drive away. So that makes, you know, and the Raiders aren't even there anymore. So you can have that stadium all to yourself.
Yeah, that wound might still be a little bit fresh though, for those Raider fans that still live in Oakland.
That might be true, but
same thing when we had the AAF come to San Diego too.
Ooh.
Yeah, but I mean, it's either that or you play in Oracle Park, the San Francisco Giants Stadium, or you play in Berkeley, the Cal Bears Stadium. So for me, I want the Coliseum, because I think that's the second best option to an NFL stadium. Give us what you guys think, what the Niners should do, where they should play. James Gonzalez says, stupid that the 49ers play so far from San Francisco. It is stupid.
It is the farthest distance away, I believe, from the actual location of where a team actually plays their home games. It's a 40-mile drive, I believe, Isaiah, from San Fran to Santa Clara. It's the longest distance, I believe, traveled between any particular geographical location of an organization where they actually call home San Francisco, but they actually play in Santa Clara. I mean, it's similar, I think, to East Rutherford, but it's not that far away from between Jersey and New York.
It's actually a 50-minute drive, by the way, especially on game days, traffic and stuff like that. Niners to Petco Park, according to KCK. I mean, hey.
There's no way that they'd be able to fit a football field on how that ballpark's configured. They're considering for the Holiday Bowl, or maybe for SDSU. They thought about that but it's not feasible because the Padres want too much of this for that to happen. But also, I believe there's also a clause, though. For example, when motocross and the monster trucks come here to San Diego, the companies that run those events have to pay the Padres for new grass every off.
Wow, that's very interesting. James Gonzalez says Niners to play at USD, University of San Diego. Callan, fill us in. Is that a viable option for the 49ers?
It would be viable. There is no fans, obviously. It would be viable, but with the uncertainty of our fall football season and also a soccer season, probably not an option.
All right.
If anything, they can go to the Alex G. Spanos Track and Field and Football Stadium at UC San Diego, where the Chargers used to have training camp back in the day, but it's also a possible option as well.
Callan Ola, I'm just in favor of whatever can get the Niners to San Diego so I can bring a huge Nick Mullins jersey to you and, get you to wear a 49ers helmet. I mean, come on, man. Join the 49ers bandwagon. Join the red and gold.
No.
You couldn't pay me enough.
Especially after watching the Junior Seau documentary. There's no way in hell I'm going to do that.
Let's see. Christy Wilson says, I heard the Oakland Coliseum stinks. Yeah, it does.
Yes.
It does stink. It's a very old stadium. There's been problems with restroom and sewage and stuff like that. So it's only for this season. It's only for the final 3 games. So it's not like, it's like that bad of an option.
Also, by the way, I wanted to bring this up because I was telling my folks about the future NFL schedules where the Bears come to LA again to play the Rams next season. My dad said there's a rule in place that a team cannot play more than 3 games in a row at home or on the road. So, if anything, this may sound ludicrous. Play all the games on the road. Why not?
James Gonzalez also says Sacramento State. That is a very interesting option. I don't know about that. Casey King says no to the Niners playing at the LA Coliseum. We're playing there tomorrow anyways, so why not make it home?
They're playing at SoFi Stadium tomorrow, not the Coliseum.
I'm sorry. I'm always used to the Rams playing at the Coliseum. It's been that way for 2 years, so I'm still getting used to SoFi, so bear with me.
The Niners. Go play at whatever the name of the soccer stadium is in San Jose. I'm sure you could probably have more people there than what the Quakes already draw.
All right, let's move on to our final topic of the night. And you guys know NFL Week 12 is packed with a lot of great games. So, John, I'm going to start with you on this. And, Callan, you can feel free to chime in on this. What are some of the games that you guys are looking forward to in Week 12 of the NFL?
Just one. The Savior is back. Trubisky to get killed by Green Bay on the frozen tundra on NBC with Mike Tirico and Tony Dungy. But bear down. Go Chicago.
Oh, my gosh. Well, what I was really looking forward to is obviously the Ravens and the Steelers game. I really wanted to watch because Lamar Jackson's not a franchise quarterback. Lamar Jackson hasn't improved as a passer. Lamar Jackson remains defeated against Patrick Mahomes. He could barely beat the Steelers with 2 to 3 backup quarterbacks last year. Obviously, there's a lot of games coming up, but let me look at one of them real quick, and I'll give you all my opinion. Because believe me, there's a lot of great games that I want to talk about. So give me just a second, and we'll get that. All right, coming up here for Week 12, what I'm really looking forward to is going to have is probably the Tennessee and the Colts game. That's a big, big divisional game. I underestimated the Indianapolis Colts this year. I underestimated what their team could do. We know what their defense is about. I don't believe DeForest Buckner is active for this game. But I think the fact of the matter is, thank you. The fact of the matter is right now, this can hurt or officially eliminate the Texans from playoff contention. Deshaun Watson, even despite since week 6, he's 15 TDs to 0 interceptions. Playing a phenomenal year. Their defense sucks. They don't have a head coach. I said they're missing the playoffs here. What is going to prevent the Colts from winning? It's like it was in San Diego and LA. Callan is going Phillip Rivers and his turnovers. Phillip Rivers is a fraudulent Hall of Famer. I know that. But he's going to be their kryptonite. And when they lose, and they're going to lose against Tennessee, it's going to be because of Phillip Rivers. On top of that, I don't believe DeForest Buckner is playing, so correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But with him not being active for this, that gives more ammo, more carries to Derrick Henry. And sorry for this cancer jersey that we're seeing on camera. But Derrick Henry gets more ammo. He's going to get a lot more carries in the passing and running attack, especially without DeForest Buckner. Who would you choose in a big game like this right now in their prime? Phillip Rivers or Ryan Tannehill?
Phillip Rivers or Ryan Tannehill?
Phillip Rivers, that's my quarterback, Dan.
No, not Phillip. I'm sorry, Callum, but you are more wrong than Isaiah is on any of his takes. Phillip Rivers is a fraudulent quarterback. He is completely overpaid. I'm not high on him in any way, and I will continue to be critical of him as a quarterback.
I take none of the above. I think this guy.
That being said, they're going to be winning the game, just like last week or week before against Baltimore, because of Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's not going to lie with his speedness.
Long live the king!
He's going to be able. It takes 4 to 5 plus defenders to tackle Derrick Henry. Look at it. I was going to say, this is even better. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Folks, when Tom Brady is pissed, Tom Brady's pissed off, you don't want to be in this way. Which is why I do pick the Bucs to win, but it's going to be a 3 to 4, maybe 8 or 5 point game. Then Tom Brady's pissed off in a big moment. Tom Brady 100% delivers. You don't want to be in the way of Tom Brady being pissed. Believe me, I know. I've bet against him multiple times. Atlanta last year, of course, different situation with Tennessee in the wild card
I bet
round.
against him against New Orleans twice and won both of them.
You know what, Cal? Whatever. But when it matters, Tom Brady does deliver. Well, again, when it matters, he delivers. Guarantee he has not played well this year. The whole team hasn't played well. I'm not going to excuse it. Now, Christy was saying Patrick Mahomes is not a favorite. Are you smoking? Like, what? He's not afraid of a pissed off Tom Brady? I hope you're kidding. This is Tom Brady here. I know they played terrible. Okay, Nick Mullins over Ryan Tannehill. Who the fart said that? Isaiah.
It wasn't me.
I know that's you.
It was auto-generated.
Really. But going back to the topic, though. I do pick Tampa Bay to win that game, but it's going to be like an offensive shootout, and the running game for both teams is going to be phenomenal. Pissed off Tom Brady. I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes should be a little bit afraid, but keep him off the field, because the more time Brady is pissed on the sidelines is better than more time Brady being pissed on the field. One last game, we got the Arizona Cardinals versus the New England Patriots, who are pretty much about to be eliminated from playoff contention altogether. Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. I said my prediction for them, they're going to go 9-7 or 10-6 on the year. Right now they're at 6-4, and with who they're playing for the rest of the year, they're going to go 9-7, 10-6. And Christy, I get you love Mahomes more than Brady because he's younger, he's playing better. I get it. But he should have some fear in terms of wisdom. Because you know when Tom Brady's pissed off, it's not going to be playing with Nick Mullins or Jimmy Garoppolo is pissed off. This is not going to be the Chiefs going 45-12. You can like whoever you want as quarterback. I'll never discredit that. But the fact, oh boy, Isaiah, bro. Okay, obviously that's probably not you. But it's not going to be a game of the Chiefs are playing, let's say, the Jaguars or something. This is a legit team with Tampa. Depending on what happens tomorrow, which we know the Bucs have to win out. just like I said, after this last 2 weeks, they've been 0-2. They have to win out. The Saints obviously are going to beat my Denver Broncos tomorrow because we have no freaking quarterback in any way, shape, or form. It's going to be great in Week 12. I can't wait to see Lamar Jackson get exposed. The Saints are obviously going to win. We get that. We don't have to show the Saints versus the Broncos here, but it's over. It's definitely going to be an exciting game there. And, of course, one last one, Seattle and the Eagles. Boy, could be over. I don't know who would win that game at this point. But what I really want to see before I give on to you, Isaiah, is Mitchell Trubisky. I'm not saying he's a franchise quarterback. I'm not saying he's this or that. But I believe Mitchell Trubisky gives him at least a better chance than Nick Foles in this game.
Yes! Yes!
But again, be afraid of Tom Brady because this is what he's done time and time again.
Great points, John. For me, looking at this schedule of the NFL Week 12 games, let's start in the morning slate. So I guess the game that I'm looking forward to in the morning games are definitely going to be the Titans at the Colts, because I believe whoever wins this game will win the AFC South. If the Colts win, they're not only going to be a game ahead of the Texans, but they will own the tiebreaker. They will basically be 2 games ahead of the Tennessee Titans. If the Titans win, they will be a game ahead as well, and they will also own the tiebreaker. So if the AFC South comes down to this football game, and this is going to be an outstanding game. It's just really sad that DeForest Buckner has to be out for this game. Let's go to definitely Chargers and Bills. The reason why I am interested in this game, because I have 3 players from the Buffalo. I have three players playing in fantasy football, Callan. And also, I'm looking forward to seeing the Chargers lose. So Callan can come on either the Midnight Express or another show that we have, or Wild Sports Talk on Monday, and sing "The Chargers Lose Again." That's going to be great.
I'm just going to sing when the Saints go marching when they beat the crap out of Denver.
No, Callan, don't you dare. No, just.
Keyword was Isaiah, John. Not you, but him above me.
I'm also looking forward to Giants and Bengals. Just kidding, but that's going to be the.
They don't have a quarterback.
I'm just kidding. It's like I see
what?
Yes. I mean, who doesn't want to see Ryan Finley go up against Daniel Jones? I mean, sign me up.
Nobody.
We might even stream it here on the MI6 Sports Network page.
No. Do you plan to keep that page? Yeah. No. All those followers, no, don't want to lose them. They've been great people, great supporters.
Let's see. Afternoon games, Chiefs and Buccaneers, definitely. That's going to be, I think, the game of the year. Patrick Mahomes and that loaded Kansas City Chiefs team against Tom Brady and that loaded Buccaneers team. And Tom Brady, like John mentioned, he's going to be pissed coming in that game after losing to the Los Angeles Rams. So I expect Tom Brady to bounce back and have a great game against that Chiefs defense that isn't really that good against the pass. So I'm looking forward to that one. Let's see. Definitely this game, Niners and Rams. I expect my guy Nick Mullins to ball out in this game. That's why I am starting him as my quarterback in fantasy football. Come on, Nick. If you're watching,
kidding. You start him in fantasy football. No, Isaiah, get your football card taken away right now, and you can never get it back. Nick,
if you're watching,
your starting quarterback, Aaron Donald. Jalen Ramsey's potentially in contention for defensive.
The Rams have not lost at home yet either this season. Not going to happen this week either.
Sean McVay leading at halftime, I believe, is 24 or 32-0. Michael Brockers, all those guys they have on defense, Who do they have on the offensive line? On IR, Richard Sherman coming back. He's going to have one toe on one leg. There's absolutely no reason. And going back to my Tom Brady thing, Christy, is because I don't think Mahomes will fear Brady just because he has the maturity and the calmness on the field. Going back to this, no, Nick Mullins is going. Both of them suck anyways. But Nick Mullins is going to get demolished. Nick Mullins is going to have to get hand surgery, foot surgery, everything, quarterback surgery, because he's going to destroy Nick Mullins. They're going to have to.
He will leave the game in a body bag.
Exactly. They're going to have to arrest Aaron Donald and the Los Angeles Rams defense for completely murdering and destroying Nick Mullins tomorrow, especially without that offensive line.
Well, I mean, I hope Mullins balls out because I'm starting him in fantasy football. Plus, that's my team.
Who's your backup quarterback?
CJ Beathard. My fantasy team?
You're asking to lose.
Wait, are you talking about my fantasy team or the Niners?
Your team. Who's your backup quarterback for fantasy?
It was Drew Lock. So
You're asking to lose in fantasy. You're going to get so destroyed, they're going to have to come make sure you're okay tomorrow after Sunday Night Football.
And let's see. Last but not least, I guess the game that I'm definitely going to tune into is Ravens and Steelers because these two teams are fighting it out for the AFC North. Lamar Jackson against that Pittsburgh defense.
And fighting COVID in the process.
Yes. Oh, wait, he's not even playing. That's right. But Ben Roethlisberger, I think, is going to murder the Ravens without a lot of those key pieces due to COVID. Plus, the game is going to be...
Isaiah, is Higgins your running back?
No, he's actually not. I have Mostert as my running back, so he's coming back from injury, so I'm starting him. But yeah, the Ravens and Steelers game, I'm definitely looking forward to that one because we're going to get to see some snow football on Tuesday night, and we're also going to be able to talk about
You'll probably get some on Sunday Night Football, too, from the frozen tundra in Green Bay. Go Bears.
I'm looking forward to it, Callan. But yeah, that's my games that I'm looking forward to watching tomorrow. Well, John, it's been a fun program tonight. But before we sign off for the night, or before we get to final thoughts, we are going to do some fun stuff here on the Midnight Express. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for some bloopers of the week. And our first blooper comes your way. Or for our first blooper, we are going to actually roast someone here on the show that decided to emulate another person on the show back in 8th grade. Roll it.
Oh, and you mix it.
Fear athletic ability.
That was Callan, trying to jump over a bunch of pillows and land on the bed back in 8th grade. Well, someone else on this network decided to try that stunt today. Do we have...
What's going on, everybody? This is Isaiah from the MI6 Sports Network coming to you live on this fabulous Saturday afternoon in the Bay Area. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I will be emulating what my guy, Callan McClure, did back in the 8th grade when he and his classmates went on that 8th grade trip to Boston, I believe. They did that hotel room idiots thing where he jumped over a bunch of pillows and landed on the bed. However, I don't have a bed with me. I'll be doing it on my couch today. I got a bunch of pillows stacked up. I'm going to be running from there. I'm going to try to jump over it and land here on this couch. So buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. Get your popcorn ready and let's do this, baby. Callan, this is for you, buddy. Let's go! Y'all ready? One.
Oh boy.
All right. Glasses off first. Got it. Safety first. One. Two. Three.
His sports card and my 6 network card is now been removed. We are sorry to see you go. But
Callan, we need you to jump into the stream real quick. So I decided to try to emulate Callan for what he did back in 8th grade.
I screen recorded it when it happened.
That's really badly when I landed on the couch. Boys, any thoughts?
Isaiah, when you get married or whatever it is one day, all these videos will be on my phone in a huge population like I already have right now with that video and with the Luke Walton one. You know which one I'm talking about. Sooner or later, these are going to bite you in the butt. Imagine if it went a couple of swings the other way or lower. That you probably would have had a real scream. You probably, well, I'm just going to let people do the math on that one. That would have been painful.
Callan, what is your reaction, bud, to me emulating? Oh.
Oh, and he makes it.
Fear athletic ability.
The original was better because not one single pillow fell. You sir get a 7 out of 10 for that happening.
like
were your parents not home?
I'm trying to remember who said this in a movie, but I am too old for this stuff, man. I am too old for this. You know.
Oh, and he makes it.
Were your parents not home?
No, they weren't home. But hold on, we have James Gonzalez say that's not a safe setup.
Yep.
That definitely did not work, did it? No, it didn't.
As a reminder, please do not try this at home.
Nobody try this at home. We joke around and have fun. Please don't do that because his parents almost probably wouldn't have had grandkids if it went the wrong way.
Christy Wilson, thank you so much. Lethal Weapon. That's exactly where I was forgetting it from. But ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great show. Let's move now into tonight's final thoughts. So, John, we are 2.5 or 2 minutes away from reaching the 2-hour mark on this program. It's been a long program, but it's been very wonderful. What is your final thoughts for tonight's show?
You call that long? We had a 4-hour show last Sunday. Give me a break.
I really want to see Lamar play. Do I believe that he has coach? Well, no, but whatever. I want to see Lamar play because I want to expose him. Lamar is 1-3 against playoff teams this year. He's 0-4 against Patrick Mahomes. The team that even the losses right here, 13 for 28. You continue to go down here again. You see a 30-24 loss, 58% completion percentage. You see his passing numbers in terms of completion percentage against big teams. They cannot deliver. So I want to continue to trash talk about Lamar Jackson. Thanks a lot, NFL. But really, I mean, we love talking sports and it's a lot of fun. But we'll definitely wanted to see Lamar Jackson lose and get exposed. And John Elway, you suck. I'm sorry. Also, fire Tom Herman.
Yeah, great point. Well, my final thoughts for tonight's show is, before I get into my final thoughts, I want to thank James Gonzalez, Christy Wilson, Casey King, as well as Shardo Gupta and Stephen Wang for tuning in to tonight's show. Really, really appreciate you guys. You guys are truly the best fan base on the planet. Yes, Callan. But my final thoughts for tonight's show is it's been a very wonderful first couple of episodes here on the Midnight Express. It's been so much fun doing the show with John and with Callan producing it in the background. It's been so great. Let's continue this. Let's continue this ride, and hopefully tomorrow, when we come back on the air for another episode of the Midnight Express, let's talk about. Hopefully, we'll get to talk about Nick Mullins balling out and helping my fantasy team win. Hoping my fantasy team wins my matchup and hoping my Niners win my matchup. But, KC and all the Rams fans out there, good luck to you and your team tomorrow. Hopefully, it's a fun, close game, and we have a lot to talk about. Hey, Alan, I gotta hope, man. I gotta hope. That's the only thing I'm holding on to is hope.
You already give Michigan fans false hope, or Georgia fans. Don't do that to
every single week.
But guys, it's been a great show. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Midnight Express. Make sure you guys check out the MI6 Sports Network page on Facebook, as well as our social media accounts, as well as check out our website too. Oh, and last but not least, I forgot. Program reminder. We will be resuming regular scheduled MI6 programming starting on Monday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, including the start of the 31 days of Hot Takes Bracket Challenge. You won't want to miss it.
Thank the maker. Do we need it?
Yes. But guys, it's been a great show. John, thank you for joining me tonight on the Midnight Express. Really appreciate you. But ladies and gentlemen, stay healthy, stay safe, and we will see you guys back here for another episode of the Midnight Express tomorrow night. Have a good night, y'all.
What? Oh my God, you had it! Oh my God, it was right in your hand! Jimmy Ward, you had that big! That would have been the